If I ever get to the point that someone makes a bingo card about my channel, Nassim Nicholas Taleb's Antifragile is probably going to be the free space, because I already talked about that a lot. I keep talking about it. My friends joke about it. Nassim Nicholas Taleb is probably my favorite living nonfiction writer, and this book changed my life when I read it, and I'll want to get into more details at some point, but I'm also getting into details as I go. But there are two things in this book that are really easy to extract from it and talk about, and I wanted to make short videos on both of them. And so one of them is what he calls Seneca's barbell, which is what I want to talk about in this video. That comes from the Roman philosopher Seneca, who, I like these fingerprint publishing books. I don't like what they did with this cover, but I haven't read this book, so I'm trusting Taleb that it's implicit in that book. But there is another book that it is implicit at, but first I need to explain what it is. And so Seneca's barbell is basically, you might have two alternatives that each have pros and cons, and the compromise will often get you the worst of both worlds. And so you might say, okay, well, you have to pick one or the other. But there is a secret third option, which is that you do a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. You do them both. And it doesn't work for everything, but it does work for many cases where you have two apparently contradictory extremes. And trying to optimize for one, optimize for the other independently is often better than trying to optimize for multiple factors all at once. And I saw this idea, and I noticed it in GK Chesterton's Orthodoxy, where he talks about, so he says that Christianity, there are a lot of criticisms that are basically contradictory in nature, which is actually something that Taleb mentions in this book, is he says that if you see people criticizing a book or a work or an idea, and all the criticisms are incoherent and especially contradictory, that's often a sign that it is worth investigating further. And so that's the case that Chesterton is making in terms of Christianity, is he's saying criticism of Christianity are always saying opposite things that seem contradictory, and that is because Christianity is normalcy, and it's the people at the extremes who don't get it. But then he also talks about, he says one thing about Christianity is Christianity doesn't, or it didn't compromise, but rather it takes the best of different extremes and combines them. And he gives a few examples, which can't recite from memory, but I'm like, oh, he's describing Seneca's barbell, although it's like 100 plus years before Taleb named it in Antifragile. And obviously Seneca was even before Chesterton, and that's why Taleb named it after him. Sure, he's not the first person to have this observation, but it's a useful tool when you're facing choices that seem incompatible, is to ask yourself, okay, well, do I actually have to pick one? Especially if you don't like the compromises, or can I do a little bit of both and see how they work? And I've already done that to some degree, but after reading that, I actually try to do more of it now, and I'll talk about, so one example of this is right now, and last year, I had one big project that I was trying to do, and they're different projects, and then I'm doing a bunch of little things that I'm calling small bets that are sort of trying to get me there. So I have one big thing that I want to do really well, and it's going to change. It may change again as I have new information. And then a lot of little things that I'm less concerned with doing really well because they're low risk, small bets. And so anyways, that was just it's a useful idea, useful tool. It's one of the two really easy to explain concepts to extract from this book. So I wanted to talk about that. I'm Magpie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.